With 12 characters in the game now, it's uncertain if Foamstars is ever going to get a new character. Regardless of if it will or won't, I think it would be interesting to try to design one. Now, I am by no means a game designer, so while at first I will be proposing my exact ideas, later in the video I'll be sending those ideas off to some other people, and they'll be giving their opinions on the matter. Now, the first and most obvious question is, who's it going to be? Who's going to be the new character that we add? Because most of the characters in this game have already been... It's Orin. The answer's Orin. The shopkeeper? It's her. She's the one. It's not even a contest. It's not even close. It's Orin. It's going to be Orin. Nobody's going to argue. Everybody's going to be happy. Everybody wants her. They're going to add her. She's fully modeled. Everybody wants her. Barista and Chloe are already there. So yeah, it's Orin, obviously. The second base thing that we have to ask is, what weapon would she use? Now, this one's a little bit harder. While she does have an umbrella, Chloe already took the umbrella gun idea. I don't want to give her an umbrella gun because that just makes her really uninteresting. So what are her weapons going to be? Dual wield katanas, baby! Fucking slash and fucking slice and dice, fucking dual wield katanas! See, her umbrellas are basically gonna morph into katanas, and she's gonna go fucking apeshit. Now, there's actually a reason I chose this. Since the name of her store is Akimbo Akindo, it would only make sense for us to give her dual wield something. Now, the Akindo's logo has dual wield pistols, but that doesn't really fit the idea of Foamstars. And even if it did, we already have 2 dual wield fully automatic weapons in the game, and I don't really think dual-wield semi-automatic weapons fits Foamstars very well. That just doesn't seem like something they would add. And of all characters in the game, she is the most stereotypically Japanese. She is the stereotypical Japanese lady of the game. So let's give her a stereotypically Japanese weapon. Katanas are very stereotypically Japanese, and her store is Akimbo Akindo, so we give her a stereotypically Japanese weapon. We give her 2 of them because her store is called Akimbo Akindo, and also it's fucking awesome. And I just really like the idea of the character who's usually really chill and calm suddenly deciding to break out dual-wield katanas and absolutely go insane on everybody. It's just a really cool idea. Not to mention that she has flames and stuff all over her attire, so it's not that out of place. She seems like she would have a bit of an intense side. So with that out of the way, let's dive into specifics on how these katanas are actually going to work. So, let's lay out the groundwork of exactly how these katanas are going to work. I'm going to begin by explaining what they do in simple terms, then afterward we'll dive into the numbers. So obviously these swords are designed around point-blank combat. However, that begs the question, how exactly is she going to be able to foam? Since foaming is such a vital component to this game, we do have to give her an option to foam. And I think the way that we can do that is make it so that when she slashes her sword, blade beams, we'll call them, will come out of the sword. Meaning pretty much a beam of light will shoot out in front of her, and that will be what causes her foaming. That beam of light will put her color's foam on the ground, and then destroy the enemy team's color foam. It'll be similar to Soa, where obviously Soa's a terrible foamer, but at least she can do it. So now when it comes to reloading, I actually had 2 different ideas, and since I'm not so sure about which one I like more, I'm going to leave that up for the other people in this video to decide. So idea number 1 is make it so that she doesn't have to reload the swords at all, but she does have to reload the beams. She can keep slashing forever, however she still has to reload if she wants any chance of putting any foam down and chasing anyone. Or my second idea was to give her really bad liquid capacity. It'll keep her from going on crazy rampages if the enemy team doesn't know that she's there. However, it doesn't make as much sense since you really wouldn't have to reload swords. But in theory, we could just make the excuse that the umbrellas ran out of power or something. And it wouldn't necessarily be too out of place if we did that. And before getting into specifics, I want to give a gigantic thank you to Sashikiru for the art in this video. This video seriously would not be anywhere close to as good as it is without her. So a gigantic thanks to her. Now that you know the base function of the katanas, it's time we get into specifics. Or more specifically, damage numbers, range, things like that. So she's going to swing the swords extremely quickly, with about 10 slashes per second. And each swing is going to do 15 damage, which gives her a DPS of 150, which is the highest DPS of any character in the game. But the trade-off for this is that her range is going to be about 1/3 of the crit range of a Gido, meaning you have to be right next to your opponent to do that damage. But if you do manage to get next to your opponent, they're pretty much going to evaporate. Also, while she's swinging the sword, she's going to move a lot slower. Well, yes, every character in the game moves slower while they're shooting. She's going to move much slower while swinging the swords, like Bublo alt levels slow. So it's actually going to be a bit difficult to take advantage of that high level DPS. Now, you still might think that DPS number is too high, but that's for the other people in this video to say. Remember, this is not final. Nothing I say here is final. Multiple other people are going to give their opinions on the matter, and if they all think the damage number is too high, then we'll lower the damage a bit. Now, the blade beams, as previously established, would be her main way of foaming. These beams would move about as fast as a quaff missile, they would only do 5 damage, and their range would only go out about as far as Ramsey's critical range. Meaning that while yes, these beams do have 50 DPS, which is more DPS than some entire characters, the range and projectile speed would make that really hard to actually take advantage of. Now, it's possible that 50 DPS is way too much, but it definitely doesn't even take an entire second to get out of the range of the blade beams. So if you do manage to die to it, that's kinda just on you. Her reload speed would probably be similar to Ramsey's. Definitely not fast, but certainly not slow either. Now yes, I am aware that nothing like this is currently programmed into the game. This would be a very difficult thing for them to implement. However, it's Orin, a character so many people have been fervently asking for. They've got to put a little bit of extra love into her character. If there's any one character that will get extra love put into them, it's got to be the character that they've made us wait so long for. So that's everything to do with her main weapon. But that's only one piece of the pie when it comes to characters. So now, we're gonna move on to her abilities. The first ability that we're gonna talk about is gonna be what happens when you press L1. And this ability is called Skyblade. Upon pressing L1, Orin sticks her sword out in front of her and launches herself up into the sky. If an opponent is hit with the initial stab, they will fly up with her. The stab's range is only slightly larger than the normal range of her katana. If no more inputs are given, she will slam back down onto the ground and be stuck in end lag similar to that of Cosmic Dive. If an opponent is up there with her when she comes back down, they will fall back down with her and get launched away. Both the launch up and the slam down do 25 damage, meaning if you hit the whole combo, you will end up doing 50 damage. However, it'll be really hard to take advantage of your low health opponent because they've been launched way far away out of your effective range. That, coupled with the fact that she will have as much end lag as Cosmic Dive has, minus the wall of foam that Cosmic Dive makes, means that this move is not necessarily safe to use. However, if the button is pressed again in midair, instead of slamming back down, she will turn her katanas back into umbrellas and then glide around. This glide will last as long as the player wants. However, she will always be descending, meaning she cannot stay in the air forever. If an opponent was launched up with her when she uses this, nothing happens to them and they fall down harmlessly. This umbrella move will end up being her main method of mobility. Though not particularly safe because she can't attack while in midair, it will allow her to go over piles of enemy foam that she would not be able to get over otherwise. That, or allow her to sneak up on people by landing on top of them. However, it's extremely telegraphed and easy to notice, so it probably won't work that often, which is a part of the balancing factor. Since her DPS is the highest in the game, we do not want to give her a mobility move that's really easy at getting you into the fight. You need to work for it. You need to work for that damage. You can't just have a free mobility tool like Bubble Step, get right next to people, and then immediately kill them. But we do have to give her a mobility tool still, because otherwise it would be completely useless to play as her. But it's a mobility tool that you have to work for, and that's why I designed it this way. In the slam back down, think of it like Kirby's up special or Cloud's up special from Super Smash Bros. It not only gives her an offensive ability, it also gives her a mobility ability. Putting both of those in one, I think, is a very good idea. However, maybe it'll need some tuning. I'm not sure. We'll leave that up to the other people. And I didn't know where else to say this, but additionally, upon slamming into the ground, she will send out one large blade beam in front of her. I made this decision mostly as a slight amount of protection from when she lands, and also so it's a little bit of a foaming option. It's definitely not good at it, but at least it'll do something with that beam. However, that beam is unable to connect with an opponent that was launched from the original attack, because I'm making the beam do 20 damage to anyone it hits, and I really don't want to give her a 70 damage combo. That would be really annoying. I know 50 damage is already annoying, but it's pretty hard to do safely. You pretty much have to single someone out, which means it's not really that overpowered, because if you have someone singled out, you would just want to attack them normally anyway. And if you don't have someone singled out, you're probably going to die upon landing because of how much end lag and how unsafe it is. So despite the high amount of damage and high amount of knockback, it's a very risky move to go for, unless you use the mobility variant, in which case it's still pretty risky because you are without your weapon in the sky like a sitting duck. If a melty spots you, you're probably going to take a lot of damage. So while on paper it seems like a really good ability, in practice I don't think it'll be that oppressive. However, as I've said before, this is not final and changes could be made. So we will see what this ends up looking like once the other people have made their decisions. Now on to the second ability, the one that happens when you press R1. And this one is called Trailblazer. So upon using it, she will send out her Bubble Beastie straight forward. This creates a line of foam that goes about as far as Super City Roast, but definitely not as wide. And it also will not knock down giant piles of foam like Super City Roast does. However, her beastie moves much faster than Taraha does upon using Super City Roast. And then once reaching the end of its lifespan, the beastie sprays foam right to left into the air before disappearing. So imagine Orin sending out a Super City Roast, followed by it spawning a Rave Breaker that sprays for about a second and then leaves. Kind of a weird analogy for it, but I think you get what I'm saying. Each separate projectile deals only 10 damage. The spray foams about as well as the 3 shots from a Penguin Squad would, though most of the foaming of the move is obviously going to come from her sending it straight forward. If an opponent is close to her when she uses it, they will get knocked back, but only if she uses it on the ground. If she uses it in the air, it is thrown out more similar to a toboggan bomb and will only push people back similar to Bubblo's shields. The move will recharge slightly faster than a normal move, in a vein similar to a Gito's shuriken. All of this is to say, this ability exists only to give her a very nice foaming option. Because every character needs something for foaming, and without this, she really would not have a very good foaming option at all. Gito has the shuriken, Penny has the bombs, Soa has bubble step, what have you. But without this Trailblazer ability, Orin would have nothing. And especially with the way that she's so aggressive in her character, she really needs an ability to create some foam for herself. So that's why I made this ability. It's not as good as a Super City Roast, because it's not as thick, and it's not as good as a Toboggan Bomb because it doesn't go as far. It's not that good of a foaming ability, but it does have that final spray, which does help it differentiate itself from Super City Roast and Toboggan Bomb. Much more simple of an idea than the other one, but I think something like this, where she just has a lot of foaming, is extremely necessary. And now her SSS ability. This one is going to be called Firefight. Orin looks into the air, clashes her swords together, and summons a large version of her Bubble Beastie. The beastie will start to follow enemies around, similar to Thanks GG, and it also moves much quicker than Thanks GG. However, upon getting close to an opponent, it fires a ring of foam at them. Upon shooting the ring of foam, the beastie will begin to target somebody else on the other team. If the ring of foam hits somebody, it does 20 damage, puts a ring of foam under the victim. It's about as large as a Spiky Beats explosion. If the beastie's hit connects with somebody, Skyblade will immediately be recharged. While that is a very strange synergy, I think because of the way this ult works, it'll be pretty good at singling people out, which is where Skyblade shines. Also, I just think it'd be fun. I mean, you know. The beastie stays on the field for about 20 seconds. Once the 20 seconds are up, the beastie does one last ring of foam right where it is expiring. This time, the ring of foam is about the same size as a decontamination mine. And while the beastie doesn't attempt to run into people, if somebody does happen to run into it, it'll send them flying and do a whole 50 damage. Now, it took me a little while to figure out what kind of ult we would give her, and I settled on this because it's kind of similar to Fuse's ult from Apex Legends, which I know is really weird inspiration to take, but he shoots a ring of fire from the sky, and I figured that her beastie shooting a pile of foam is the closest thing we're gonna get to that. Orin doesn't have a lot of characterization. She has a lot of flames on her attire, as I said before, so I feel like fire should kind of fit into her kit a little bit. And that's all of her abilities. So let's recap exactly how she's gonna work. So Orin is an extremely close range, high DPS character. She has low foaming potential, low long range damage potential, but the highest close range damage potential in the entire game. To balance this out, I gave her very risky mobility, so that while she can use it in an attempt to get in, it is not a safe choice to make. If she doesn't want to use that to go in, she has the ability to create foam paths for herself. There is not necessarily the most effective foam paths, meaning she still definitely has to work to get into battle. With an ult designed to make a ping pong of sorts, such that if it shoots at somebody and it hits them and it gets them stuck in the pile of foam beneath them, she can run in there, get a chill, and then use her mobility option to follow the beastie towards the next opponent. However, this is not guaranteed, and you can very easily just get out of the way of the ult or get out of the way of the Orin. Or even chill the Orin. So the design philosophy behind Orin is extremely risky, extremely rewarding, close range point blank combat, with a little bit of inspiration from the fact that she seems to like flames for whatever reason. Both Trailblazer and her ult have some form of flame inspiration, and that's Orin. But now it's time to move on to the others' opinions. So let's do that. So the first person up is Riding Riptide, an IRL friend of mine that also happened to be the creator of all of the logos of the moves that are in this video. I have this character here that I want you to give me your opinion on.
Stop. Shut
What?
the fuck up. I'm on my goddamn lunch break, you pint-sized Hey guys, my name is Riding Riptide. I have a total of 43 seconds of playtime on Foamstars. all of it Ramsey, and Michael was curious to have our opinion on his new character that he wanted to suggest, which is Orin. So, let's get right to it. To start out, we have the weapon, which is the dual katana. And I had a small suggestion where I think the blade beams would work fantastically for a close to medium range weapon. However, a foam slash could be better for close range combat. A foam slash could allow for possibly a lower damage per second while giving better room for error, making her character a little less niche. And I couldn't think of a specific way to describe how a foam slash would work. I'm sure Michael, because he's so smart, so beautiful, will think of a good little clip to show you what I'm talking about. However, a blade beam would be a better option for foaming, as it would obviously allow for straight lines of foam, while a slash would be more of an arc, spreading it out almost like a shotgun blast. Now for reloading, I think a full reload could be perfectly fine. She could also have a dual katana sheaths where she must sheath them quickly for foam. Think of kind of like a bubble stick that you would play with when you were a kid, unless you were an uncultured little bit. Otherwise, you could allow for a very quick recharge rate where she'd be able to go back to foaming after a couple seconds of stopping. So next up is Skyblade. Now, for once I will say, I think it is perfectly fine the way that it is right now. I don't have any personal suggestions, but I'm sure that some of the people who are more experienced in the game will have a bunch of their own opinions. Trailblazer.
You mean Trailblazer?
That's not how you spelled it, you fucking idiot. Now, for Trailblazer, I think a small buff would allow for a steady. How did I fuck up the word steady? Now, for Trailblazer, I think a small buff would allow for a steady stream of Fuck me. For Trailblazer, I believe that we could have a small buff allowing a steady stream and or bouncing ball of foam from both sides of the beasties simultaneously. This would allow for a better bit of foaming and a somewhat medium range weapon. This would be a fantastically... Fuck me, what is that word? This would be a great weapon against a team that is well choreographed or hunkered down, and would then have to face a nuisance that may allow Orin to strike. Lastly, Firefight. Now, I will say, I personally dislike the way that this superstar ability would function. I think a better alternative would be an ability that would allow Orin to move at a quickened pace, kind of like a power-up. And it would probably be better to have her have more health, and it would complement her playstyle, considering her playstyle. Considering the damage per second, you could just give a massive boost to speed and health, which would make her a threat but manageable. I'd say it should at least be a very short time limit though. Or, because it is pretty damn funny, she could ride the Bubble Beastie like a cavalry unit. Riding that bitch in there like a horse, dual wielding the swords. I don't know if it'd be effective, but it would be pretty damn funny. I'm gonna be a Hollywood star. You're gonna see me on the big screen, baby. You know it, baby. You're gonna see me on the big screen.
Shut the fuck up. I'm leaving that in the video. Next up is Sashikiru, an Agido player and the one who, as I said earlier, drew the art of Orin that's in this video.
So those who know me know I play a somewhat similar character. But 10 swings per second, that is realistically impossible for human arms holding. Reduce it to about 3 to 5 swings and slightly raise a close range crit. Not as high as Agito's 62.5 damage per shot, but make it like 25 damage per swing. When at range, however, make it half the amount, so around 17.5, acting as chip damage, as well as being able to slice through the enemy foam. Also, to make her look more badass while swinging, have every third swing do a cross sword beam, so it comes out in an X shape, maybe dealing a little bit more damage while doing it. For example, the first swing is 17.5, second is also 17.5, but the third could be 20. That's it. That's all I've got.
I really appreciate how you talked at Mach fucking 12, so now I have to find a way to edit that. Next up is Omega's Innocence, who was unable to make it to the video with voice, so he gave me his answer in writing instead. So I'm gonna read it out to you. I had to take the time to carefully think about the video. I just have a few very slight criticisms. What is wrong with you? Like, are you dead ass? I can forgive you for giving her blade beams that give me geek power PTSD flashbacks, but
150 DPS a second? Why 15 damage per close range hit? Why not 16? If I have to get close enough to give someone a colonoscopy, at least make the damage worthwhile. You still have to hit the opponent the same amount of times to foam them up. It's like the last 3 brain cells in your head are fighting for 4th place. And that SSS, you said it would be moving faster than Thanks GG. You got a damn monstrosity moving around at fucking regular speed shooting foam traps. Why in the flying through fuck would no shot do 20 damage? Turn that shit down to 15. It's a damn near death sentence to get hit by that. Also, it better be really fucking obvious where it's going. If I happen to lose half my health to a serial killer speed beast moving erratically, I will come to your house and shit in your pillowcase. So explain how it will move and how close it will get to you before it shoots its shot. Got enough shit in the game to worry about already for me to be humoring your fantastical bullshit. By the way, you spelled trial wrong, stupid idiot. Dumbass.
Quantum's microphone has decided to eat shit, so I'm going to be voicing this part now. In all seriousness, Omega just had one real concern. It was mentioned earlier that he was concerned that where... Sorry, I started.
You dumb bitch. You stupid ass bitch.
It was mentioned earlier, but he was concerned that where the SSS Beastie is going might not be very clear, which would be unfair, and I agree with this. The Beastie should have a similar indicator that Thanks GG has for where it's going, but considering its speed, that might not be enough. The SSS seems to be something that needs changes. But let's move on to the next person. My throat hurts. Why did you make me do it?
Next up is Catherone, who, unlike Omega, actually has normal concerns.
My name is Kat. I'm...
We are not going to be here for 15 minutes.
Okay.
I swear to God, you said okay 75 times in the past 1 minute.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kat. My name is Kat. I'm Kat. People know me as Catherone. I am a SOA main. I'm from Canada. Yippee, oh Canada. I'm just gonna start off with the first point that I have. You mentioned that the Orin was a point blank character. I feel like for her case, if she's doing the blade beams like what you called it, I feel like it should be more of a range thing than up close. Because like if she's foaming from afar, that beam should like kind of travel in a way. If she's up and close and personal to your face, it's just gonna be harder to step back in a way. Because like she's not much of a foamer like you mentioned. So if she's like even a distance, like let's say Chloe's distance, because she should have like that range like Chloe's. So her reload, I do not know what to do with her reload. Her reload, it seems weird. Maybe mid-battle, she has like a little animation, like, oh, she drops the katanas to the floor and then replaced with another duel of katanas, like kind of like Ramsey, just like a little animation detail like that. I'm gonna just first start off with Skyblade. I think if she hits someone, if she like throws someone in the air, I feel like this person should be stunned in the air kind of with her. She should like have like that stun ability because, you know, so this character is very close up and personal, then they have to have like that stun. Her glide. I know you mentioned that she can glide. I feel like she could glide, but I feel like she should not have the infinite late to just glide around. It should be more of a timer based. She should not be gliding in the air for a long time. For Trailblazer, by the way, I think you spelled that wrong. I have nothing to say. Her ults. Her ult, I know it's gonna be faster than GG's, but how fast would it go? Because some players have 4 speed up. Will the ult just be pointless if it's just falling around that one person? I feel like there should be a way to counter it. I know you did say like, oh, you can just move around. And it's like they won't do anything. For like Soa, in my case, Soa has her ball. The way to counter her ball, you shoot at it and it goes pop. Melty and Chloe, you could shoot at them and they just die. Barista, you could just shoot him at him and he either dies or you could just dodge his laser. Maybe just consider how do you counter this ult, especially like to new players who don't know what to do with this ult. That's all I have.
You have done the thing.
I've done the thing!
And lastly, we have Ultraken, who's actually the reason that I made this video in the first place, since he asked me to do so.
Hello everyone, my name is Ultraken, and I am a Penny main and a huge Orin believer, and I cannot wait for her to be in this game. So these are specifics, those sound all pretty good to me, those numbers are good, because obviously you'd have to be super close up to her to really do anything, unless you're like just some god type player who can hit all the beams and get the damage in, but you know, yeah. For the reload, what I was thinking was she put her katana in like a sheath and have them like charge up, I guess you could say, like a bubble wand that you would see like in real life. Have a reload like that, or you could have the blade beams, and then she could still swing around, but of course if you're on empty you can't swing any foam around. She could do that and then reload, or she'll just like fully reload. For the Skyblade, flies up is just basically Cloud Up B, which you would have seen in the video already. It actually will look really cool because it has Quaff Hopper height, which will be pretty freaking cool to see. Trailblazer, which it should have been called a Trailblazer, but you know, it's okay. This in my head is fine. It's just a tool option if you want to create space or create foam for yourself. For firefights, this is a weird one. You throw it out, it follows you around and it's faster than things GG, which, oh boy. It fires a ring of foam, and when you get hit with it, it goes under you, which is so it's like it like sets a trap basically for you can just go over there and just chill them. To be honest with you, this ult's weird. But what I did talk about was thinking that the ultimate could be like where you go into the middle of a bunch of people, you press triangle, you do like a huge like ring of like fire / foam, if you will. It'll sit there for maybe 2-3 seconds, does a lot of damage. I think it should push them back just because it's an explosion. I'd say give her maybe a small speed increase just for her to get out of there if she needs it, but I mean she also doesn't really need it just because of, I mean, she's close combat, so I guess she could defend herself if needed. But yeah, ultimately Orin, great character. I can't wait for her to be in the game because when she gets in, I promise you I will main her right away. In whatever condition she's in, she's going to be mained. It's going to happen. I won't say I won't drop Penny in general, but let's just say Orin is going to get played more than Penny. Yeah, those are my points that I would like to say. So, yeah. All right, I'm done.
Oh, nice. Bing! There's the end of the...
So now knowing what everyone said, it's time to make some final changes. So first things first, it seems everyone's in favor of a full reload. And since 2 different people gave the exact same idea to sheath it like a bubble stick, I think that's probably the animation that it would have as well. Less simple though is something that Catherone brought up, which I actually agreed with. And she was saying that it'd be really difficult for Orin to step back and get away. Which upon thinking about it, makes sense. Every single character that needs to get close to do damage has 2 different options to move. One to get into the fight, one to get out of the fight. Soa has 2 bubble steps, Agido has 2 different moves, Ramsey has 2 different moves, and hell, even some characters that aren't close range, like Quaff, has 2 different options to get away. However, Orin only has the one. So upon thinking about it, you umbrella in, you get a chill, and then what? You're either trapped behind enemy lines until you die, or have to fight your way through with just the blade beams that don't have any range at all. And that doesn't seem like a particularly fun gameplay loop. So I think what we do is we increase the range of the blade beams to something similar to Chloe's. However, we keep the 5 damage at Ramsey's crit range. If you get hit by a beam at the tail end of its lifespan, it will do less damage. We'll have it do something like 3 damage, which seems like a really small number, but remember, she shoots 10 of them every second. This will make it much easier for her to fight back against... Why was there a train? This would make it much easier for her to fight back against someone trying to... Shut up! This will make it much easier for her to fight back against someone trying to take her out after she's already used her mobility option. Because it'll either A, scare them away, or B, allow her to do more damage from afar, preventing her from getting stuck in a loop of going in and dying, going in and dying. And it'll help her foam better because obviously the beams will go further, so it'll make more foam. So I don't think this is a particularly daring change from a balance perspective. I just think it'll make her a lot more fun to play so you don't get stuck in the free-to-play Soa loop of bubble stepping in and dying, bubble stepping in and dying, bubble stepping in and dying. However, the last thing is a very big deal. So 5 of the 6 people that I asked in this video had an issue with the ultimate. So I guess we're just going to redesign this thing from the ground up. So to start off, I think it should still be called Firefight. If for no other reason, then I don't want to think of another fucking name. Now, writing Riptide at the very start gave his own idea on what we should do. The last 2 characters, Ramsey and Bublo, both have ults that just kind of give them a power-up. I feel like it'd be really boring if we gave a 3rd new character in a row an ultimate that just kind of makes them stronger. And hell, you might even be able to say that's what Chloe's does. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but I could understand if you think that. So while that is an idea, I think we should get a little bit more creative. And with that, we go on to what Ken said, which me and him had a little bit of a conversation about before he started his part. But what it would be similar to Pyro's Rainblower taunt from TF2, which I'm sure you saw earlier in the video. This explosion would be about as big as the Latte Art Royale, and would take about 2 seconds to splash. During those 2 seconds, she's completely invincible, as every ult has some form of invincibility frames. Everyone who's within that Latte Art Royale sized range will take 50 damage and take knockback similar to that of Gotta Crush. After the slam occurs, she will have about 1 second where she can't move, and then everything would move on as normal. So instead of being a Thanks GG-like ultimate, which, let's be real, considering how janky Thanks GG is, I understand people not wanting another one of those in the game, she basically has the option to do one of 2 things. She can A, run into a pile of enemies and hope to hit all of them with this big area of effect circle, or B, when she's in a perilous situation, just say, "Oh fuck," and then do the Soa thing of using your ult when you're about to die. It would be a pretty good move, but it's an ultimate, so it really should be. And if you really think about it, because of the fact that she's such a close-range character, the fact that everyone who gets hit by it gets knocked really far back is gonna make it pretty damn hard for her to actually get chills off of it. Not impossible, certainly not impossible, but it shouldn't be impossible. So sure, it's not going to be the most effective move in the game, but anytime you use it, it's going to do something, even if it's just to create that pile of foam beneath her. However, since this is such a different move from the one that was in this video originally, I sent it off to the other people in this video to say if they like it or dislike it.
Sorry for the sudden dip in audio quality now. My microphone has really been acting up, but it's lucky that it happened near the end of the video. Anyway, I asked all the other people in this video one simple question. If Orin was dropped into the game exactly how she's described in this video, would that be fine? Would there be any glaring problems? And every single one of them said yes, it would be fine for Orin to be dropped into the game as is. So that means we're done here. I, with the help of some friends of mine, have designed a new character for Foamstars. Now, do I think this is ever going to get added to the game? No, obviously. But it was pretty fun coming up with ideas, and since a lot of people really like Orin, I think people will be happy to see a video giving her some love. However, if you see any glaring issues with her character, put it in the comments. I read and reply to every single comment I get on my videos, so if you have any questions or concerns, put them down there. Why did they add Buffalo? She was right there!